who don't know me, I'm Morna. You find me mainly in the water. One of the reasons you find me mainly in the water is because I'm living with arthritis. So today's talk is all about arthritis, what it is. I'm going to cover a few of the common kinds that we find in New Zealand, and also just management, looking after yourself. That's actually the main theme of it.
You're the $6 million lady with all your replacement
With
joints.
so many, I know, I'm waiting for number 5. And waiting, and waiting. The arthritis, anybody want to hazard a guess how many kinds of arthritis there are?
Heaps. Too many.
Heaps, too many, yeah, good answers, yes.
I was told something like 130 or something. Oh.
Yeah, more than 140, yes. The reason is arthritis is a description of the symptoms. It's not a condition of itself. So arth is to do with bones and joints. Itis, you get peritonitis, appendicitis, meningitis, things that are swollen and inflamed. So arthritis is simply, whatever your condition is, the result of it is you've got swollen joints. And that's why there's so many. So the 3 most common kinds, probably no surprises there. Osteoarthritis by country mile. Gout is actually, you can't really tell from that, but there's actually more gout within New Zealand than rheumatoid arthritis these days, so there is a reason for that. And those are the conditions that I'll cover. But there's lots of others. There's spondylosis, there's polymyalgia rheumatica. I'll give you a spelling test afterwards. There's juvenile arthritis, so even children will get forms of arthritis. Reactive arthritis, so if somebody reacts to a virus or a medication and everything just flares up. Psoriatic arthritis, so there's some arthritis that just it starts with a skin condition, but it goes into the joints and causes extreme pain. So the most common kind, osteoarthritis, there's the dog with his legs stuck, we can empathise with that. So basically it's just worn out joint cartilage. So nice new joints when you're young, they're nice and smooth surfaces, there's a sac of fluid which keeps it nice and mobile and working well, and over time or with wear, it literally just erodes. You get little bony spurs, you get sharp bits, you get bits of cartilage breaking off. That affects the soft tissues, and that's where you get the pain from. So why do people get arthritis? For the lower joints, weight is quite a major factor, simply because you're putting all the weight, more weight than your skeleton's designed for, onto those lower limbs. Occupational or sports damage. Yes, you've all seen the rugby players hobbling off the field. Terrible bit of research from Australia showed that of those that hobbled off the field and had some knee surgery, within 7 years, most of them would have developed arthritis. So that's quite a young age. So you get the sports injuries and the occupational damage. If you're doing a very similar movement, you're in a factory making a gizmo and your hand's moving like this regularly a few hundred times a day, you're going to get some form of arthritis in the joints that are having to do the work. Age, yes, it does tend to be worse with age, but it can appear quite early, but generally sort of 40s onwards is when it starts to appear. Slightly more women than men. Now I mentioned, you know, if you're hard-working or a really good sports person, maybe that's because more women than men, or there are genetic factors in it. Hereditary. My own surgeon, when I went way back in my 40s, and he looked at my x-rays and said, "There's your problem." I go, "What?" And he said, "It's your parents." So it is quite strongly hereditary as well. That's not just because weight and other factors run in families. The actual chemistry of the joints they've worked out can be inherited, so that how you react to the wear and tear and how quickly you wear out can simply be the chemistry of it, of how your fluids are in those joints. So that was an interesting bit of research. Diagnosis. X-rays are a major because it's very much the bones. Manipulation, some of you will have suffered that with your physio or doctor. Does it hurt when I move this? And when you come back down from the ceiling, you say yes. And also history. So if you're going to the physio, you're going to the doctor, telling them what kind of pain it was, when it happened, what you've been doing, what you haven't been doing, when it gets worse, what helps. All of that helps them put together the whole picture of, yep, we're talking osteoarthritis here. The cure, sorry, none. Which is why most of this talk will be about managing it. Second most common kind in New Zealand, gout arthritis. And there's a picture which actually tells you a bit of the story of why gout arthritis is so common in New Zealand. It is very common among our Māori and Pacifica. So details of it. First, a horrible picture, gout joints, very painful when it flares up. And what gout is too much uric acid in the blood. We all produce uric acid. It's quite a normal, natural process, but some of us produce too much and do not dispose of it efficiently. Normally we pee it out. If too much stays in the system, stays in the blood, the levels get too high, and the gout is a reaction to that. So who's likely to get it? Definitely runs in families, can appear quite young. So you can have a family where grandfather, father, and the teenage son all have it. It can be a reaction sometimes to some medications. So whenever you're getting a new medication, that's why you always check what might happen. And this is the one that's most famous, is the whole thing about food. We all think you eat too much steak, you drink too much red wine, port, you're going to get gout. In actual fact, it's how we process that food. So I can eat seafood with no problem at all. Other people are kind of tiny bit of a lovely muscle, and that's it, they flare up with gout. Very, very individual. So part of the management of gout is working out what are your foods you can take. There are also some foods which seem to help. Also some drinks. Alcohol is notorious, but there can be other ones. Soft drinks can also trigger it for some people. So it can be treated. Most people who go along and they're diagnosed with the gout, there's a medicine, the most common one, allopurinol. It is given as a preventive. So if you know of somebody who takes it because they've got a flare-up, no, you take it preventatively each day to avoid the flare-ups. So the whole management of gout is looking after those two things. If you've been given medication, you take it. And if you get to know what your triggers are, what flares up, what doesn't, food diaries help with that, then you can avoid the flare-ups, or they might not be quite as bad as they otherwise would have been. And the third most common kind in this country is rheumatoid arthritis, or part of the world I come from, we used to call it, she's got the rheumatics. So a pretty picture of a joint, inflamed joint, and that's one of the reactions that happens with rheumatoid arthritis. Again, a very painful condition. It's not a wearing out thing like osteoarthritis. It's an autoimmune inflammatory condition. It's a reaction. It runs quite heavily in families. There are some things which can make it worse. Being a woman is one of them, for no really known reason apart from that hereditary factor. Yeah. And if someone smokes and they've got that predisposition, they're more likely to develop the rheumatoid arthritis. So diagnosis is a bit different from X-rays will show if it's got so bad there's bone damage, but they do blood tests and check it that way. And also, again, just knowing the history of what's going on and the family history. Treatment is, there's some pretty strong medications that people with rheumatoid arthritis get given. Yeah, so a careful thing with that is that There are some things that can develop. Somebody who's already got rheumatoid arthritis is a bit more prone to anemia, a bit more prone to cardiac problems. Now, whether that's the condition or whether it's the result of the medications, the jury's out a bit. It really seems to be an opinion. So, I popped in a bit about fibromyalgia as well. Seems to be becoming more common. And it's a syndrome. It's a collection of symptoms appearing and how the person is suffering. One of the things is that if you touch, I think it's 11 out of 18 of those points on the body and it hurts, then that's an indicator it might be fibromyalgia. But usually it's kind of around the symptoms. So tiredness, they've got a thing they call fibro fog. Can't sleep. Well, if you couldn't sleep, you'd probably get a bit of a fog in the morning anyway. The pain at particular times, again, looking at what have you been doing, what have you not been doing. The whole risk factors, and this comes into the diagnosis, again, it often runs in families. But a lot of people who have fibromyalgia can look back to some trigger time, some sort of trauma, whether it was some sort of accident, an illness, or something that is often some sort of trigger. So add the genes to that trigger and fibromyalgia appears. Ages, it appears a lot younger than some of the other arthritis, 25 to 55 years through that range. Again, more women than men for no particular known reason. And the treatments are interesting. Most of them are related very much to reducing stress. And part of that is with any of these conditions, reduce the stress, reduce the tensed up, feel less pain, relax, feel less pain. It's a progression. So you can either get more and more het up and get more and more sore, or you can try to relax down. So somebody with fibromyalgia or any painful condition, have you tried Tai Chi? Have you tried acupuncture, hydrotherapy, just any massage at all? So, and they will look at medications, but medications that relax. So you'll actually find what used to be used only for depression, some of those medications are used for conditions like fibromyalgia. And again, it's just trying to get people to relax down a bit.
Is there any difference to polymyalgia?
Polymyalgia rheumatica, autoimmune syndrome, again. So I'm not actually, we're running out of booklets. I've got to order some more. It's one of those that we can get. So it's similar. The output, the results for the patient are very, very similar.
Yeah.
But the polymyalgia refers to, it's happening in an awful lot of places. Poly. So there you are, how to relax, bit of Tai Chi. This slide here gives you the idea of that continuum of you have pain. What don't you do when you're feeling too sore?
You don't move.
Don't move. It's too sore to move. I'm not going to stand up. Too sore. Decreased mobility. What then happens?
Weight goes on.
The weight goes on, exactly. So you get the weight gain. You get the increased stress on the joints, particularly for those lower joints with the osteoarthritis, but stress in the whole body of just having more of a body to look after. And you get the inflammation because of all the stress, and you're back to more arthritic pain. One of the ideas of managing the arthritis, and also what we do in green prescription, is to cut across those points. So the decreased mobility, we try to help you to find activity that helps. The weight gain, the dietitians come in and help you with that side of things. The whole stress thing, well, just coming to our beautiful classes is a good way to help with the stress. The inflammation is more, everything that's in that circle all comes back to that, the inflammation and the pain. So something to work on. And here come the messages. How to look after it. Keeping active. which of course is our message in green prescription, but there's so many different ways of keeping active. The good old exercycle. Resistance works, so the dumbbells in the water, those of you that have tried them will know how hard that can be. The resistance bands provide the same, so you're getting resistance, a bit of strength training. I always put Kermit in here because that's actually meant to be relaxation. But also flexibility. How many of you can actually do that? Looking after the flexibility is all part and parcel of being active. Balance, and that's something we work on. We've got our group at Barber Hall. You may have seen the flurry of publicity on the radio and the TV and the press and the net, advertising the strength and balance classes that are available throughout the region. And there's a new brochure out with all the classes. So always something available to help with balance. And the idea of the pull timer is you do it a little bit by little. So with exercise, you think about how often am I doing it. Sometimes it's no use doing it every day, or do something different on the alternate days to give yourself recovery time from an exercise. How hard out you do it is another factor when you're there, and how long you do it for. So you might start with 10 minutes in the gym and build up to an hour over a long time. So how often, how much, how hard out, and you build it up slowly. You never increase all three at once. And the other thing to work on as you step up gradually is the activity itself. What activity suits you? That doesn't work. The number of times I've been in the gym with people, we've done it, we've worked out a program, and 3 weeks later we thought, let's try something else. It can be anything, or the walking just gets too much. Right, let's think of something else. Eating healthily, the dietitians will cover all of that, but really important, not just for health, just keeping healthy, not just for making sure there's some weight loss if you need it, but also if you're on a whole heap of medications, good eating actually helps you cope with the medications, as well as the activity, as well as looking after yourself. So it's there's a lot more to it, and some foods will actually counteract the effects of some medications. So if you think about it, where does it all go? It all goes to the poor old gut, and we're learning more and more these days how important the gut is for making all of that work, and for making your brain work too, which is a really wonderful discovery. Medications. If you need medications, if you are prescribed medications, get to know them. Get to know their effects, the timing. For example, if you're going to be leaping around in the pool or gym today and you need a painkiller, about half an hour before, it's individual. It might be 40 minutes before. You work it out for yourself. When do I need to take this so that I can exercise like I want to and enjoy it and not be a train wreck? Getting them sorted. So, who's the expert on the medications?
Just not to take any.
Have you noticed if you go up to the hospital, they insist that you must be taking something? I'll come to what works for me in a little bit, but your expert on the medications is actually your pharmacist. So they, especially if like you're doing supplements and medications, they're the ones who will say, whoa, hang on a sec, I can't sell you that because you're now double dipping on some quite strong stuff. They do 4 or 5 years of training on it, so they're the experts. And as well as that, of course, the GP, nurses, and yourself.
Can I add a little bit of lightheartedness here?
Oh, good.
My granddaughter asked me, if you take tablets and you take more than one, how does it know to go to the right place to cure the right thing? My granddaughter asked me that.
Oh, I wonder
That's
that. I wonder
wonderful,
that. We all wonder that.
because most of them are shotgun, you know, they're scatter effect. There's very few are really specific to one thing or one system in the body.
Yeah,
and they all affect everything.
She was curious to know how did each tablet know what to fix.
There's a future pharmacist. Wonderful.
We don't know, eh?
Yes.
Do you think it's A lot of people do take supplements. Are they like 100% guaranteed though?
Unless they're a well-researched, peer-reviewed medication, and not all supplements are. I mean, I'm a great one for if something works for you, and bear in mind your neighbour can tell you, gosh, this works wonderful, try some. It might work for her, but it might not work for you. With both medications, supplements, anything like that. And if I was even looking at a supplement, and I'm not rich enough to do that probably, is I would get a pharmacist just, you know, what are these? Because everything is chemical. The supplements are chemicals. So you don't want to either double dip or contradict the medications you're taking. That can happen.
And it doesn't actually all stay in the system. Sometimes it just goes straight through, so it's wasting money.
Oh, the number of people who just pee out all that vitamin C, you know, that they've spent lots of dollars on. Yes. So, love your pharmacist. And the third thing, keeping active, good eating, medications. Fourth, manage stressors. Anybody ever feel like this in the morning? Or any time of day? The whole thing of relaxation and getting a good night's sleep. And of course we had our talk about a good night's sleep, all the party tricks, and working out what works for you to get that good night's sleep. A little bit of activity helps. If you need tools, whether they're walking sticks, a walker, crutches, you use them. This lovely couple set off on our walk up on the wind farm. When they set off, one of them, I can't remember which, had both walking poles. Off they went up the hill. When they came back down to the finish line, they'd shared the walking poles so that they both managed to make it to the finish line. So you use what you need. Is everyone familiar with the Easy Living and Mobility Manawatu, the shops in town? All these aids and things. You can go there and buy crutches, you know, you can go about pick-me-ups, all the things that help. Jugs that you don't need to hold to tip, you know, those tipping mechanisms, things to help you open cans if you've got rheumatic fingers.
They're a wonderful shop.
It's worth just going to have a browse, so that later on, if you know, oh, now there was something like that in Easy Living, go back. And a couple of times somebody's asked me about something, a client has said, oh, what I need is, and I've rung Easy Living and Mobility Manawatu and said, is this available? Do you have it? They are good. Managing stressors, hot packs, cold packs. Hot packs work for some joints, some conditions, some people. Cold packs work for others. I've got wonderful ones that you can either put them in the microwave or you keep them in the freezer, because I've got two joints that like hot packs and two that like cold packs. No logic to that, but it works. So you work out what suits you. And again, simply that theme of relaxing. Warm water is so good. One reason we like the pools here at the Lido when they're at a good temperature. One problem with that picture?
Getting in and out.
Getting in and out, yes. First thing I did when I bought my house, rip out the bathroom. Rip out the bath, walk in, handles, safe floor, look after yourself.
Can you get those baths? I've seen them advertised in magazines that you can actually walk in and it's got a little gate. And you sit and have a bath.
Yeah, I've seen them in
Are they
pictures,
in
but I haven't seen them in reality. It would be awesome. The trouble, all I could think of was you'd have to get in, then run the water,
Yes.
and then drain the water, and I would get frozen by the time all that had happened.
I sort of wondered how
Wasn't sure how it would work.
Yeah. I see them in English magazines a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very British.
Yes, very British, says someone. Great. Okay, so put all those things together, and you create your own management plan. You work out what activity or activities suit you, when it's both convenient and less painful and suitable for you. For example, you may rely on somebody else for transport. That immediately reshuffles when you're going to do something, but you work it out. For how long you want to do. If you want to go to the gym for 10 minutes, that's fine. You're allowed to do exercise. If you're told you should be doing 30 minutes of this every day at home, turn it into 10 and 10 and 10 if it's too much. But work it out for yourself and at your own level. So what you can manage, and if it's too tough, you tell your trainers, and believe you me, we appreciate the feedback. Oh, I couldn't move the next day after last Tuesday. We'd rather know that and work out what you overdid your exercise on, so that we can help you work out what is your level, and perhaps not that particular exercise. Here's an adapted version. Healthy eating that you enjoy. Food's great. Love eating. But it's trying to keep the healthy side of it going. Again, something for you to work out. And you manage your pain and your discomfort your way. I mentioned the hot packs and the cold packs. Took me a while to work that out. Painkillers didn't work, but hot packs and cold packs did. So use them. So who can help you? Lots of people. So family and friends. If you're having a really bad day with some sort of inflammatory condition, you let them know. If you need help to do something, don't do what I do, but get caught up the ladder at the gutters when your son arrives. I was in trouble. And so use your family and friends, and I've got neighbours who'll come across and say, I'll do that. So culture that group. Ask. Some people love being asked to do something to help somebody else. Who else can help you? Your GP, a good confirm, but go prepared with your little list of, here's what's happening, here's what I think is going on, what do you think? Practice nurses, perhaps a bit more accessible. Your pharmacist we mentioned, your physiotherapist, again, go prepared so that they get a good idea of what it is they're trying to deal with and don't have to ask you 100 questions before you get there. Your green prescription team. The Arthritis Society is there for anybody with arthritic conditions, and as you know, that covers a lot. So they no longer have regional educators, but you can ring the 0800 number, their cards are up here, and you will be put through, or they'll ring you back, a nurse who knows all about all the conditions and can advise, help, anything to do with arthritis. We do have a local arthritis group here, the Palmerston North Arthritis Support Group. They usually run land exercises and water-based exercises in the hospital pool. I am looking forward to level 1 so we can get back to doing those exercises. And they have a talk on arthritis and dietary factors coming up, so there's a flyer for that. Brochures, lots of brochures, a superb website, and all the brochures are actually on there, so you can just go in and read them if you're online. The latest one is Arthritis Pain. They put together 3 earlier brochures. Basically, it's all the party tricks for looking after yourself. You could even take off the word arthritis and just use it for any pain. Osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and over there a couple of them less usual ones like psoriatic arthritis.
There's nothing on autoimmune in those brochures?
On a lot of them, because most of the arthritis are autoimmune conditions.
Like that stuff going on, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And there is a copy of the handout kind of showing the PowerPoint that's there just as a prompt, and we'll do the test next week. No, we won't do the test next week. So any questions or thoughts? Thank you for your feedback during the session.
I just want to go back. We were talking about the showers and the baths. I just want to mention that Enable have quite a lot of, can help you a lot.
Yes.
And a very elderly friend of mine was 86 and she was still having a bath because she had this special sort of chair and it was remoted. And
wow.
So it would come up and she'd sit flat like this, put her feet in and it would go back down into the bath. And Enable had some
Yes.
with a high back.
There's often a way around.
Because she hated showers, so and she had a lovely old bath.